You're tuned into Recovery TV, the voice of hope, with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Discussions and information on addiction and mental health issues. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Narcan. Get your Narcan. Get it, put it in your pocket, your purse, your car. Got to carry it. People are dying every day. So thank you for joining us today. My guests today are from Newport Mental Health, Madison Catanzaro and David Bosco. Welcome.
Thank you for
joining us today.
Thank you for having us, John.
So tell my viewers about Newport Mental Health, because obviously we're a little scarce in having services down in Newport.
The Newport Mental Health is a community mental health center that serves all of Newport County. We serve the whole lifespan from children, adolescents, their families, adults, and older adults. We provide mental health and substance use treatment to everyone in Newport County.
Do you have recovery housing down there, David?
We don't ourselves, but there are some recovery houses in the Newport County area. We actually use some recovery houses. Madison just helped one of our clients get into some recovery housing right over the border in Fall River.
Mm-hmm.
You know, down in Newport, we get calls all the time, Newport, Bristol, Tiverton, about services. In your estimation, how can we make that better?
I think CCBHC expanding our services is a game changer for not only Newport Mental Health, but for the whole state.
Right.
When we did our gap analysis, we found that we needed increased substance use services for residents in Newport County. Madison is the director of our substance use division. So we have recently applied and received a license for intensive outpatient service program. We also felt like our children's services, we had a huge gap in that. So we are continuing to expand and build out our children's services. We recently, we will be starting a program called ICAPS, which is an intensive in-home service for children and their families. We were able to get that into our CCBHC cost report. That program will help get kids that are stuck in the hospital back out into the community by wrapping services around the children, adolescents, and their families, so that they can get back in their homes and get back to school and live normal lives in the Newport County area.
Yeah, that's been one of my pet peeves for 24 years now, about getting adolescent treatment in Rhode Island. I mean, Phoenix House had it at one time. Then they had to go out of business because the state wasn't paying the correct amount of monies to keep those kids in residential treatment, but we were okay sending our kids to Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont at the total of about $10 to $15 million a year. So it doesn't make any sense to me that they didn't do something here in Rhode Island, because every dollar that's spent in Rhode Island goes around 7 times. Every dollar that's spent in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, Massachusetts goes around 0. And the other problem is that family intervention. Most of our kids that needed treatment are from the inner cities. And those people don't have access to go to Maine, go to New Hampshire, go to Vermont, and have family intervention. So those children came back to Rhode Island and going back into the same environment. And it's like a mouse on a wheel. It keeps going around and around and around. And these kids never get the correct help that they need, because when they become adults, they end up at the Cranston Hilton, which is the ACI. And that is not a good thing. That is not a good thing. So Madison, I'm sure that you have your hands full with the epidemic that we got going on right now.
I do. I'm excited to say, though, that we, like David had referenced, we got our licensure for the intensive outpatient programming, and I think that's going to change so many, or impact positively so many barriers that we face specifically with substance use and co-occurring disorders. And so we're providing a fully integrative treatment from initial stages, crisis intervention, those pre-contemplative stages of change, implementing harm reduction approaches, psychoeducation, evidence-based practices, and 12 steps to really form an integrative treatment, as well as allow people to remain independent and feel like they have a hold on things, when most of the time when they're at that state they feel as though everything's out of control.
Not only do we have an opioid crisis, we also have an alcohol crisis. You know, alcohol sales in Rhode Island are up 300% since COVID. You know, I have a number of liquor stores in my district that I represent, and they're telling me kids used to come in with buying 6-packs, now they're buying cases. They're buying the little shots. They used to buy a couple, throw them in a bag, now they're buying a 12-pack. So we got major problems with alcohol too.
Especially in the Newport County area, it is a tourist area, so you're going to see more access to alcohol. It's also a common university area, so access is very
Fluid.
It's very accessible. Yes.
Fluid. Now, do you get a lot of people from URI coming to your organization looking for help?
David, do you want to take that?
Not so much. More from the Salve,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Roger Williams. Not so much URI. We do partner with URI a lot to do our needs assessments. But as far as clients coming or students coming to Newport Mental Health, not so much.
Not so much. Is it because the avenue of communication is not there?
I don't think that it's a communication piece as much as it is that, you know, substance use is so predominantly normalized in universities and colleges that, you know, a lot of kids we find, or young adults we find, are coming in after years of partying or not really recognizing that they were in a mental health crisis while engaging in this substance use. And so I think it's more of the piece of it being normalized than it is that there's not as much communication.
Yeah, because once they graduate, now they're in the world, and now they have to hold a job, and they have to go to work. You know, and so, you know, I've had people on my show that, you know, they've started at the age of teens with alcohol, and
During
you know,
those
and
experimental.
and now they're, you know, now they're in recovery, and they're, you know, become productive citizens again. You know, so that's, you know, one of the things that I think families are not aware of is that because alcohol is so predominant in the communities, they need to lock their alcohol up. You know, lock it, put it away, put it up high so your kids can't get it. You know, we've had a call about a year ago in the Leadership Council about 2 6th graders with alcohol poisoning. You know, and that kind of hit home with me. I mean, my grandson's 9. I mean, a couple more years, he'll be in 6th grade, and I'm saying, oh my God, you know, it's you know, not, it's not a good thing.
Families don't realize that you know, families drink alcohol, you know, during holidays or maybe when a mother or father comes home from work, you know, they want to relax and have a drink, and they don't realize that the kids are looking at that and watching that.
And they think it's normal.
And they think it's normal.
Yeah.
So you have to be very cognizant of you know, your behaviors when you're parents.
home,
So and when you're home.
I'm going to take a quick break so I can pay the bills. We'll be right back. You're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We'll be right back after these messages.
Now, back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, AdCare. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Newport Mental Health. Madison and David have been my guests today. So welcome both of you, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about this Rhode Island outreach program that you have going on.
So the Rhode Island Outreach Program is a pilot program that Newport Mental Health started approximately 2 years ago. It's a very unique program. It's based on the Eugene, Oregon CAHOOTS model, where it's a mobile outreach where a medical professional and a behavioral health specialist go out on a van. We have 3 vans, 2 in the Newport County area, 1 van in the East Bay, Bristol County area, and they provide services wherever the client's at. They remove all barriers for clients who are experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, and they deliver that service right to them. It helps mitigate unnecessary ED visits. We all know how our EDs are always backed up, and people who are experiencing medical emergencies have to wait a long time. So this program is designed to mitigate ED visits, mitigate unnecessary hospital stays, and also mitigate incarceration. A lot of times when police go to the scene, it escalates quickly, and clients who are experiencing a mental health or substance use emergency end up incarcerated. So this program is designed to mitigate all of that and remove all barriers and deliver the services right to them wherever they are, on the street, at their home, wherever they're at. RIO will respond.
What about the vehicle that you use? Is it labeled?
It will be labeled shortly. They're going to be wrapped with the Rhode Island Outreach logo and Newport Mental Health logo. The 3 vans, we just got the vans maybe about 6 months ago. So they will be wrapped, and the logo will be on the side of the vans.
That's a great concept, because there's a lot of homeless, and people don't realize that there's a lot of homeless in Newport.
Yes, a lot of homeless population in Newport.
In the north end, correct?
In the north end of Newport, that's correct, John.
So, you also have, not only you have homeless individuals, you have homeless families.
That's correct.
Homeless families, and that is a killer.
It is.
Because you have the kids, that need to go to school, that sometimes they don't go to school because of the situation that they're in. You have families living in tents and living in cars. It's just...
It's very sad.
I would never thought in the 65 years I've been on this earth that I would think that we have such a issue with the homeless, and the amount of individuals, families, that are in trouble. And I say this all the time. 80% of the families in Rhode Island are only 1 paycheck away from living on the street.
That's right. It's very expensive. Affordable housing is not only a Rhode Island crisis. It's a United States crisis. Throughout our whole country.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question about the homeless issue in Newport. Your street outreach people. How many do you have?
Well, we have 2 teams of. We have 2 teams, approximately 11 on the RIO team. We have another 6 that are in the East Bay area, and then I have a street outreach that I work through with Rhode Island Housing, and that's a team of 6, and they all around right on the street, trying to continuously engage the homeless population, gain their trust, so that they can get services. They don't even have to come into Newport Mental Health to get services. We'll deliver the services no matter where they're at, so that we remove all barriers for them getting help.
Are you seeing that escalate as far as the amount of people that you're serving?
Yes, absolutely. We just, Newport Mental Health, Kodak, and the city of Newport did a warming center. There's very little resources down in Newport County, as you probably know, John. So we lifted up a warming center along with MLK Center. They gave us the space to deliver it. And we, maybe last year, we saw, an average of 7 and 8 folks coming into the warming shelter, and we were in the 20s this year.
Per day?
Per day. Per day. Yeah, it's incredible, the amount of homeless, in Rhode Island and in Newport County in particular.
Yeah, but nobody seems to want to realize Newport. They think Newport is a...
You think of the mansions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you think of a mansion, but you see people living in tents.
Yeah.
That's not good. And then you just started intensive outpatient detox.
Yep. Well, so our intensive outpatient programming, we just received licensure, so we'll be starting May 1st with that program. And one of my biggest goals in creating that program was ensuring there was a stress on hospital deterrence. So a lot of times with our clients, specifically our homeless population, is that they're going in and out of the hospital, getting detox, either whether because they want it or they need the bed for the evening, and they are getting put back right in the same area, proximity, culture that brought them to the substance use. And so it's a constant cycle. And so one of the things that myself, David, and my team members have worked on is to get everyone together from the start. Who's coordinating with the hospital, getting them into this more intensive program where it builds a gap between hospital and outpatient. So they get a little bit more, they get group therapy, individual therapy, and then, but again, they get to sustain that independence. So even people who are working 2 jobs can go, or people who have other obligations, even medical appointments. It allows them to sustain some sort of independence, and we find that that approach really supports people in their recovery overall.
Yeah, and, you know, and I say this all the time. I blame the insurance companies also for not giving the folks enough time in detox, in residential treatment. You know, they want to get them in and get them out. That doesn't solve the problem. It's exacerbating the problem where it's getting worse. You know, and I use my analogy of putting a mouse on a wheel in a cage. The mouse goes, jumps off, goes out in the community, comes back, detox again, detox again, detox again, and it's a tough battle, and people don't realize it. Is relapse is part of getting better, but you can't give people just 14 days now. I mean, we have a bill in to keep them up to 90 days, and we use when I came into this business, we had 90 days. They kept cutting. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We'll be right back after these messages.
Now, back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, AdCare. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Newport Mental Health is in the house. Madison and David, thank you both for joining us today. Thank you for coming across the bridge.
Thank you for having us, John.
Greatly appreciate that. So you got a couple of things in the month of June. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we have our a big fundraiser. We have a golf tournament June 17th at the Aquidneck Club. So hopefully we can raise a lot of funds so we could continue to expand our programs and deliver high-quality services to the residents of Newport County.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's where people get lost, that you're a nonprofit 501c3. You know, you're in that giving scenario.
401 gives.
You know, and we don't get paid for people that we serve that don't have insurance.
No, we don't.
Uncompensated care. The hospitals get it, but we don't get it. So, you know, if you can donate, please do donate to Newport Mental Health. That would be greatly appreciated. I want to thank both of you for coming on today. It's really a pleasure to have you on and talk about Newport. And whatever help I can be down in Newport, I would love to help you out down there, because the services are not where they need to be. We need more services, as you said earlier, David. Hopefully that CCBHC, when it comes around October, that we're picked for one of the states that take it on, and then hopefully people will get served and they'll get the services they need. So again, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
You've been watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We'll see you next week.